Yo, so I just watched the first episode of the most recent Walking Dead spinoff, The Ones Who Live, and I have some thoughts, so I figured I'd make a video about it, because I've been a fan of The Walking Dead for like 8 years, and I like talking about it, so yeah, I'm gonna do that. This is the only Walking Dead spinoff that I've watched so far, because it's the only one that has sounded remotely interesting to me, and from what I heard, the others are not really that good. Really, the only reason I decided to watch this is because I heard the actors for Rick and Michonne, Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera, are executive producers and writers for the show, and I know that they actually care about their characters being well done, so knowing that they had some influence in the quality of the show made me decide to give it a shot. So yeah, this will contain spoilers for all things Walking Dead, this show, the main show, the comics, The Walking Dead Survival Instinct.
Oh, hell no.
The bad. Number 1, the editing. The editing for me is probably the worst part about the episode. It improves as the episode goes on, but it felt very weird and confused for a lot of it. There was actually a part right at the beginning where I had to check that I wasn't watching a trailer for the show or something, because the way it was edited looked like a 30-second TV spot. Number 2, the exposition. So the writers of the show were put in the very unenviable position of having to come up with an explanation as to why Rick was alive and well for years and never came back to the family and community that he had built. And most of this episode is dedicated to explaining it, albeit through very cheap means like narration, and instead of revealing what is happening through natural dialogue, they just have Rick pretty much tell what happened directly to the audience.
What happened on the bridge? I didn't think I'd survive.
Pretty much everything that you were required to know is just plainly explained by the characters, and they are always talking to people who already know whatever it is they are saying. Like, look at how they show the audience that Rick and this guy have been friends for years.
Okay, so for like 2 years, you didn't even talk to me or anybody. But I kept talking to you. Took a while, but we got something now.
No one fucking talks like that. Number 3, Rick's hand. In the Walking Dead comics, Rick loses his hand pretty early in the story. It gets chopped off by the governor as a brutal punishment for him not giving him what he wants. This is like a really traumatic moment, and Rick goes through kind of a period of feeling useless because the governor cut off his right hand, his dominant hand. In the main Walking Dead show, they never went down the route of having Rick lose his hand, mainly for practical reasons. It would be very costly and annoying to have the main character of the show have either a digitally added stump or some annoying prosthetic in every single shot of the show. This, coupled with Robert Kirkman's regret over having Rick lose his hand in the first place because it made writing ways for Rick to realistically survive difficult, was good enough reason to never cut Rick's hand off in the show, and everyone was satisfied with that. So naturally, Rick loses his hand at the beginning of this spinoff. They frame it as like, this is the only way to cut himself free.
This is how.
But I mean, did he not at least think to try cutting his restraints first? How about instead of chopping your fucking hand off, wrap the metal wire around a tree so it has a lot of tension, then hit it with the axe? Yeah, maybe it wouldn't work, but surely that's worth trying before you cut your whole fucking hand off. Oh, and also, it's his non-dominant hand. And then he gets a prosthetic with the fucking Assassin's Creed hidden blade as well. So what was the point of cutting his hand off? He didn't escape, and when he got caught, he didn't even get punished. Him having one hand does not affect his ability to do anything in this episode, so why? Why did they cut off his hand? Number 4. The new characters. So far, the new characters in the show are just really annoying and tedious to watch, and I can relate to Rick just wanting to be rid of them and go and get Michonne. Not because that's what the show wants me to do though, because the show clearly wants me to care about these characters, and I just can't. Leslie Ann Brandt as Pearl Thorne is okay. I think she's a good actress. She was good in Lucifer, I guess, but they really have her ham up her accent to the point where it is like really distracting.
If I shoot at you, Grabs, I won't miss.
The character and actress are both from South Africa, except when you watch like an interview with the actress, she is totally and completely understandable.
That's right.
Crime-solving grandma with a typewriter.
Is she still alive?
She did Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins?
But her character is almost unintelligible.
I wouldn't have missed Grabs.
All that aside though, there is just nothing interesting about this character, but she is so insistent on being in the story for no reason. Why does she care so much about Rick? Is it because she thinks they're similar?
We all want to be somewhere else with someone else.
She also said the CRM is all she has left and she doesn't want to risk losing it. So why is she covering for Rick when he tries to escape? Wouldn't that put her at risk too? What does she have to gain from helping Rick? Why is she so passionate about Portland and Omaha when it looks like nobody else cares? None of these questions matter because she is clearly being set up to oppose Rick later in the show and then probably turn to Rick's side right before she fucking dies or something. It's a classic Walking Dead thing to do. Oh, and the Donald Okafor character, he kind of had a cool backstory, but he himself was just dull and generic and tedious to watch, and the acting was pretty bad.
I lost everything!
But hey, he died in a pretty funny way. He fucking exploded. The good. Number 1, the production. I think the production quality was actually pretty fucking good in this episode. The sets are nice, the visual effects are pretty good, the show looks very high quality, and you can tell they put a lot of money and effort into making sure the show looks really good, and I think they were pretty successful in that regard. Number 2, creativity. I like how the showrunners approached this episode because they knew all anyone wanted to see was what happened to Rick and when will Rick and Michonne reunite, and I think they handled these questions pretty well and in an unexpected way, and an unexpected way that was actually good. I like Rick being so desperate to escape the CRM and find his family that he's legitimately suicidal, as well as giving up on finding his family after trying and failing for years, which is honestly pretty bold for a show to do with their beloved protagonist, and I liked how dark it was. I like these dream sequences of Rick and Michonne and some sort of alternate reality where they meet in a pre-apocalypse world. I thought that was pretty cool. Most of all, I really like the decision for Rick and Michonne to finally reunite in a way where they're kind of at odds with each other, and it leaves me wondering if they're going to have some sort of conflict about how they should deal with the CRM, which I think is pretty effective and definitely creative. Number 3, Andrew Lincoln. Andrew Lincoln is a really good actor, and his time on the main Walking Dead show proved that even if he was given a terrible script, he could make it work and feel real with the character. He's also very good at making the Rick we see in this show feel like the same guy we met at the beginning of The Walking Dead, and his performance is not only one of the best parts of the original show, but by far the best part of this episode, and let's be honest, probably the rest of the show. In conclusion, honestly this episode exceeded my expectations, which were admittedly pretty low. I think despite some problems I mentioned, like the editing, the new characters, and the pacing, which I didn't even really touch on, there was a lot to like about this episode, and I'm fully down to watch the rest of the show, so finna.